listening to episode 42 of the Barcelona Virtual Podcast on European marketing and innovation. I'm your host, Paul Fleming.
And I'm Alejandro Molina. And boy, Paul, do we have an interesting program today.
I can't wait to get started. The annual Alexa Live Worldcast is a tradition we've had all these years, each and every July.
I like the sound of that, George. Worldcast. And yes, Alexa Live is a global event.
That being said, I'm certain we'll learn about sweeping, international announcements. Given our own focus on European innovation, will there also be some news closer to home?
Oh, absolutely, Carrie. We'll showcase progress in the automotive industry with a case from Jaguar in the UK, as well as other European leaders.
And Paul, you mentioned to me that today's edition is going to be an express version.
Yes, I did. Some of our more recent episodes have been a bit longer, so with many of us about to begin a well-deserved summer break, we'll keep this one short and to the point. We'll report on two of the most important advances from Alexa Live in an executive summary format. As always, backed up with great resources in the program notes at blog.bevirtual.com.
I'm ready.
The following content is brought to you by Derby Hotels Collection, European luxury hotels. Enjoy a special 10% discount in London, Barcelona, and Madrid with the code BVAlexa at derbyhotels.com.
So, Paul, what are the principal innovations we'll be talking about?
I'd say that the big news from Seattle this year could be summed up in two main themes. Number one, an even more ambient, quote-unquote, Alexa in smart homes. And two, an incipient self-aware Alexa, what Amazon is calling her, quote, age of self, unquote. And then from our end, we'll update our listeners on how this impacts privacy concerns, together with some very interesting use cases.
Ale and I have prepared a concise package on the first point. Suffice it to say that your smart home just got smarter.
Exactly, George. A major focus this year was on improving how smart devices work together. And the concept of an ambient Alexa responsive to her environment is being reinforced.
How so, Ale? I did read something the other day about a new initiative called Matter.
Correct. Basically, Amazon's creating a new industry standard called Matter. It should be ready by year's end. Matter will make it possible for connected devices to communicate using existing wireless protocols like Wi-Fi or Thread.
It doesn't substitute smart home platforms like Apple HomeKit, Google Home, or Alexa. You'll still need to have one of these platforms to run your Matter-enabled devices, but you can even mix and match them.
Speaking of Google and Apple, how do they feel about the new standard?
Oh, they are totally on board.
Apple, Amazon, Google, and Samsung are embracing Matter because it will allow any device to work on their smart home platforms. It won't depend on who made it and won't require any special extra programming.
In other words, Matter devices will simply work. Amazon calls it frustration-free setup. We are talking about smart home devices like intelligent lighting, plugs, locks, sensors, thermostats, blinds, things like that.
I realize that this is an express edition, so I assume that there are many more details you've put up on our blog.
Yes, there is much more. Our listeners just need to go to the BV podcast section on our blog and look for Season 4, Episode 7. You'll find the blog at blog.bevirtual.com.
Carrie, I think this second section will interest you a lot. I only hope that it doesn't scare you.
Well, you've got me curious now.
Well, I think you must be thinking of some of our past episodes, right, Henry? For example, The Fear of Alexa from Season 3, Episode 1, where you, and especially Leslie, felt very wary of having an AI bot in your homes.
Or a July episode last year, when we talked about Alexa entering more parts of our lives. You didn't seem to like it.
Absolutely. That was Season 3, Episode 6. And I do mean to stick to my guns, as you Americans always say. On the one hand, I agree that these voice assistants enrich our lives. Yet, on the other, I often feel watched and recorded. It's a bit creepy. So what's Alexa up to this time?
As I mentioned earlier, Amazon is heralding their progress in AI, conversational interfaces, and ambient as Alexa's so-called age of self.
It's logical. AI assistants continue to evolve due to machine learning. In the case of Alexa, Amazon is now guiding her, as it were, to a primitive self-awareness, encouraging self-learning and preparing her for self-service.
Isn't that perhaps overreaching a bit? After all, she, or rather, the entity, is actually a software code locked up in a simple cylinder.
That is harsh.
Well, please don't shoot the messenger, but I think the best way to explain what they mean by the phrase is to quote Amazon's VP of what they call their, quote, natural understanding, unquote, division, Prem Natarajan. And I quote, he says, advances such as conversation mode are examples of a broader trend in AI, a trend that is ushering in what I like to call the age of self in artificial intelligence, an age in which AI becomes more generalizable and more autonomous. So in more practical terms, this means that Alexa knows, quote unquote, if you are in the house or not. Or she begins to make autonomous decisions and proactive suggestions to you based on what she knows about you and your family.
It's a shame that Leslie is still on leave in the United States. I'd love to get her 2 cents on the subject. And honestly, it only aggravates my own worries about surveillance and privacy.
Oh, I understand you completely, Carrie. We've reported on privacy controls and big tech promises here in the past. Yet, as the technology evolves and the distinction between real and virtual beings blurs, I agree. I continue to feel that AI creators have much more to do in order to be 100% transparent.
Perhaps I might surprise you both with a clear and current trend I've read about. In the 4th generation Echo smart speakers, much personal information is no longer transferred over the cloud. Rather, many tasks are being executed by Alexa via on-device processing.
And since we did also promise interesting use cases from Europe, I recommend our listeners see the video we put up from Jaguar. It's in the blog post related to this episode. Season 4, Episode 7.
I must say that it pleasantly surprised me. It does show how much innovation is happening in the car industry.
Not to mention the benefits of more safety, thanks to hands-free commands, as well as a richer driving experience. By the way, after seeing that clip, I want a Jaguar I-Pace too.
As we conclude, could you mention the other cases you had in mind?
Sure. In terms of European innovation, I would definitely recommend our listeners check out the smart home device leader Eve, based in Munich in Germany. And they will definitely be forerunners with a new Matter standard that Ale just told us about. George, on the other hand, what other related cases have you and the team added to the program notes on the blog?
There are quite interesting videos on how Alexa is excelling and evolving with senior citizens in healthcare and other areas. And we've provided a link from Amazon to a helpful overview of all of the contents they announced at Alexa Live 2022 last week.
Well, guys, true to our promise to serve up a shorter express version this time, that's it for now. I do hope this brief sketch about the current state of voice AI has been helpful to you. And perhaps during your vacations, talking to our listeners now, you may want to listen to 1 or 2 or 3 of the other 41 episodes at your disposal via Alexa, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, and many other platforms. Have a wonderful August. Enjoy your time with family and friends, and we will see you in September.
Yeah, have a great summer, everybody.
Remember to check out our other flash briefings in the podcast section of our blog. Many of the episodes include very interesting chats with European innovators and entrepreneurs. Till then, goodbye from Spain.
This flash briefing is brought to you by Barcelona Virtual, a European internet pioneer. To visit us, type the letter B together with virtual.com. That's bvirtual.com.